self-concept determines your life. This is exactly what Neville Goddard said. And in this video, I want to share with you, what does your self-concept actually mean? Why does it play such a huge role when it comes to generating a new reality for yourself, when it comes to generating new circumstances for yourself? How can you change it? Right? How can you consciously craft a new self-concept, become someone new, identify as someone new, get new circumstances? So with that, let's just dive right in. And first of all, I want to share with you, what does self-concept actually mean? Because it's a big buzzword in the manifesting space, and I have the feeling that some people overcomplicate it. So now I want to give you like the detailed answer so that you actually understand that, okay, it's nothing mysterious, it's nothing exotic. So your self-concept refers to what you believe to and consent to as true about yourself. What that means is that you're not born with a self-concept, right? Your self-concept is basically something that you accumulate and that you add to yourself wittingly or unwittingly, things that you identify with. We can also say in simple terms that it's basically a lens, a filter, a role through which you experience life. Meaning there is no self-concept, no state is absolute. There is no two people that actually have the 100% same self-concept or the same state. Because, we all have like a personal individual journey plus history. We all have different, identifications and viewpoints to life. And we all view life differently, right? You could have two people in one room or two people hearing the same news, seeing the same circumstances, but both would interpret them differently based on what they are identified with, based on who they say that they are. And the most important thing is also your self-concept at the same time is a blueprint of how you react to the world and how the world responds to you. Why this is the case? We will talk about this later in the video. The forecast is because, your life is a mirror and reflects back what you have alive within yourself, reflects back who you are, right? That is the external world's basically a purpose, is reflecting you where you dwell within, your state, your self-concept. That's why it is, of course, so important to pay attention to your self-concept, because if you always get treated the same way, always get, encounter the same types of people or the same types of circumstances, it's time to look within and no longer trying to change forcefully something without. So self-concept, for me, is the same as your state of being, right? Your state of consciousness, and it's like the attitude you have towards life and about yourself. So this is Neville's definition, by the way, on self-concept and state. So a state is an attitude of mind, a state of experience with a body of beliefs which you live by. Always expressing a state, you identify yourself with it by saying, I am this, I'm poor, I'm rich, I'm known, I'm unknown, I'm wanted, I'm unwanted. Right, so I love how Neville describes it, right? It's a body of beliefs, right? It's this summary of, things that you consent to as true about yourself and the world. So when I speak of states, I'm speaking of states of consciousness, attitudes of mind, which create a body of belief. And a change of circumstance happens as a result of a change in your state of consciousness. So if you remain in the same state / self-concept you're in right now, but you want to, go to the next level in life, and no matter what area that is, you will fail. And this hurts if you don't also align yourself within to that version of you that you want to be, to those circumstances that you want to see. Now, I want to give you some more explanations on that right now. What I said to you in the beginning, and I hope that you paid close attention, is that you are not your state. Right? Would you be your state, you could never change it. You would have been born with it, and you would have continue the rest for your life with one particular state, one particular assumption about yourself and, certain identifications, but you are not the state. You're in a sense moving through states. You're in a sense like a blank slate. You can choose what you want to identify with. And if something doesn't serve you any longer, if something starts to limit you, if something starts to trigger you outside, well, then it's time to assume something new for yourself. Then it's time to assume a new state from within, so that the world can reflect back something new. But what that means is that you are never bound to a self-concept. You're never bound to a state, because you are not it, right? You are awareness, you're consciousness. You're free to occupy, to select, to start to identify with new things, and basically put your awareness to new things, and therefore other things will, in a sense, die in your awareness. So your awareness, and you can place your awareness, you can start to imagine yourself, you can start to put your focus, your attention on a new state, right? You can start to dwell on new things within yourself. So we can basically say that your self-concept, your state, is who you imagine yourself to be, what you add to that blank slate that you are, right? What you put in front of the movie projector. You have a movie projector, this is your awareness, right? That, and whatever is alive in your awareness is reflected in your world. But you can decide, because you are that awareness, you are the operant power, you can decide where you want to place your awareness on. Do you want to place it on poverty, on lack, on being unwanted, of all of these undesired states? Or do you consciously place your awareness on the states and on the self-concept and on the things, on the attitudes of the assumptions and identifications that are desirable and that you want to make alive in your world? Because we will see and discover in this video that, again, your life always outpictures and reflects and manifests and hardens into fact that which you have alive in your awareness, which you dwell on within. So, to recap, where you put your awareness on, what you imagine yourself to be, who you imagine yourself to be, again, that is what your life reflects back. And the interesting thing is that they're infinite states, right? They're infinite self-concepts, right? There's not just, okay, poor and rich. You can be an employee, you can be a happy employee, you can be, an excited employee, you can be an excited, happy, very well compensated employee. So you see what I mean? Like, there are nuances and infinite nuances, and you decide in which state are you. So this is what Neville said, and I wanted to definitely bring this quote in here because that's very important for you to understand, okay? So think of the world as containing an infinite number of states of consciousness from which it could be viewed. Think of these states as rooms with infinite plots and traumas and situations already worked out but not activated. They're activated as soon as you become aware of them and fuse with them. Let's go through this quote again, and then this illustration that I just showed to you will make even more sense. So think of the world as containing an infinite number of states from which it could be viewed, right? I can view the world right now from what it would be like to, be in poverty and struggle and be in lack. I could also consciously decide to, what would it be like right now? How do I view the world? Would I be this? Would I have this? Would this be me? So I see the world differently. I have different reactions. I have different thoughts, all coming from that new state, that new state shift. I placed my awareness with that question on this new state, right? I aligned within to this new state. And think of these states as rooms with infinite plots and traumas and situations already worked out but not activated. That is a key for you to understand, that creation is finished. All of these states are already there. Your desired outcomes and desired situations, this is already all in existence, but it's like, in a sense, sleeping. It's not activated. It's within you as potential, but you have to activate it by feeling in it, right? By dwelling in it, by seeing the world through it, by thinking from it. As soon as you become aware of them and fuse with them. And how can you become aware of them? What does it mean? When you start to imagine them, when you start to align with them. So this is exactly what I showed here, right? You start to dwell on certain states, certain realities. Some people call this parallel realities. This is also totally fine. So you dwell on that, and then what appears in your physical world is basically the reflection of what you dwell within. So we can say, here is a mirror, right? So this happens within. You internally pick a state, and then a certain bridge unfolds that will express, that will reflect, that will show you externally who you have decided to be, what you have alive in yourself. Now, before we talk about some quotes from Neville, where he in a really amazing fashion described self-concept and explained why it is so important and, how you change it and all of that, here's also my take summarized on how you change your self-concept. So first of all, I want you to become aware of your current self-concept and state. This can be quite helpful, and this also ties in with Neville's first principle, which is self-observation, and then definition of aim, and then detachment from the old state. So become aware of your current state, right? Look at your environment, relationships, income. That kind of shows you what you might had alive within yourself weeks ago, months ago, because that's now, what you see externally. Externally is in a sense always the past, because I can now within shift, but then my world takes a little while until it reflects back new results. So don't take your cue from what is right now, but just observe, how is your world? What do you like? What do you don't like? Where do you dwell within right now? So become aware of what is, but also become aware of your thought patterns, right? Your daily habits, your thought patterns, your reactions. All of that will and then determine, what you had alive within yourself, or what even you have alive still until this point right now. And then you can ask yourself, okay, is this in alignment with what I want? Would I also react that way? Would I also see the world that way? Would I already be my desired version of myself? Would I already have what I want to have? And in the background of my room, you see this picture with this person, and they have like this box over their head. I hope you can see this in the background right there. So if you're like this person and you're not even aware that you are creating your world, you're not even aware that things flow from within to without, well, then you will always stay in this undesirable, perpetual, vicious loop of looking at what is, getting more of it, looking at what is, forming your state out of what is, and then getting more of it, because this is this downward spiral in a sense. So by bringing awareness, this is basically illustrated by this light bulb on this picture that you can see in the background. If you bring awareness to your state, if you bring awareness to your life, you see, wow, this is what I actually had in life. This is what I dwell within, and this is no longer serving me. Therefore, you can stop dwelling on those things and start dwelling on your desired states, right? So become aware of who you are right now, of your thought patterns, your reactions, your internal state, your moods, what you assume to be true about yourself and the world. Become more and more and more increasingly aware of that, right? Step 2 is choose your ideal self-concept, right? Choose your ideal state, choose your ideal reality. What is it that you want? Who is it that you want to be? And this is step 2 of Neville's principles, is basically after self-observation, after we have, understood more about ourselves, we now define the aim, what it is that we want, who it is that we want to be. So you can list your desires and ask yourself what you truly want. You can go general or specific as you like, because as we said, they're infinite states. So at the end, if you want a car, you don't just want any car. Probably you have one specific car in mind, or same goes for any other desire as well. So of course you can be specific. Just go as far as to the end as possible, right? Because the more you nitpick the process, the more you say, oh, but it needs to be this, right? It needs to be this car, but it needs to be from this dealership at this exact price. You already limit yourself, but okay, you want this car. With relationships, I made a video there, like a big video on the specific person guide. I also have a lot of other relationship videos on my channel. You can go specific, but then be mature enough to, deal with the potential peak and valley experiences throughout this journey. You could also be general and, assume the state of being happily partnered. You have to figure it out for yourself, but the most important thing is that you choose who you want to be. You choose your self-concept by asking, what do you want? What's your goal? And every desired state basically is an unoccupied state. Every wish you have is an already existing self-concept version of you, how it would view the world, but that's right now not activated. That's right now not occupied. Okay? And then the third step is that you start to imagine yourself as the version that you want to be, right? Know that your imagination is real, aka know that when you experience a scene that implies that you now are this version, that this is real. You are this version already. It's just very unnatural to you yet. It's just very uncommon to you, uncertain to you, because you've been for such a long time always this version. How could it be instantly natural that you're now this? Of course, it takes a while to dwell in it and to fill up your inner reality with that new self-concept, with that new state. But via persistency, or by always assuming that feeling and that mood of your desired self-concept back, at some point it will become very natural. So use your preferred technique, and find a technique that resonates with you. And that's already it. So there is nothing crazy about your self-concept, right? You change your self-concept by selecting it, by asking yourself, how would I feel the world right now if I would now be this, right? So if I now believe that this is true for me, which imaginary scene would imply to me that I'm already, more loved, more wanted, more desired, more this and that. And then you start to experience that. Imagination is spiritual, witnessing something spiritually that is right now unseen. But let's talk more about how you can change your self-concept with Neville's quotes, and that will perfectly summarize this video, and then you will know why your self-concept is the key in your life. That's the foundation, your self-concept / state / identity. That's what your whole life evolves around, basically, right? That's your world, your outer circumstances molds around, reshuffles itself always around your internal state, where you dwell within. So the most remarkable feature of man's future, so of your life, what will come into your life, is its flexibility. It is determined by his attitudes rather than his acts. The core stone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself, right? Man's, woman's, your internal concept of yourself that determines your life. So he acts as he does because your state and your self-concept influences your actions, your beliefs, your thoughts, your reactions. It's basically if you imagine an onion, it's like the center part, and then everything evolves out of that. And of course, also the results and manifestations. So you act as you act in your life, and you have the experiences in your life that you have because of your self-concept, because your self-concept is right now what it is, and for no other reason. Right? When you would change your self-concept, you would act differently. So a change of concept of self automatically alters his future. Super important. Stop trying to change the world, since it is only the mirror. So your attempt to change the world by force, so you're still in the old self-concept, you're still in the old state, but now you go outside and you work harder and you do more outside and you try this, and that, and you try formations, but your state is still the same, your self-concept still hasn't changed yet. This is very fruitless. Right? This is as fruitless as trying to break a mirror in hope of changing his face. Right? How much success would you have if you go to your bathroom and you look into the glass mirror, and you by force you shake the mirror and you want that this mirror shows you a new face? No, once you start to smile, the mirror smiles. And I think of life in this operating the same way, simply with the difference that it is a delayed mirror. So meaning if you start to assume a new state and a new self-concept, and you apply any methods that I share throughout my channel, that Neville shared, to shift into that new self-concept, into that new state that already is in existence, that you just have to assume and allow yourself to dwell in, then it's not that immediately you see externally a manifestation from that. Right? Internally, you can immediately be in the end state or in the end self-concept, but externally, it might take a while for this to be expressed. So don't fall for the mirror of life. So leave the mirror, let it be as it is right now, and change your face. Leave the world, leave the circumstances, leave the 3D. It's always there. It's not your enemy. It's not bigger than you. Let it be as it is right now, and change your conception of yourself. And then the reflection will be great, will be awesome, will be to your liking. So that which you feel yourself to be, what you feel your self-concept is. But now you need to take it serious. Now you need to not take it serious, but you need to pay attention to it, because again, it determines what your life gives you. Choose it consciously, and that what you feel yourself to be, that is what you actually are, even if your world doesn't reflect it back yet. So to reach a higher level of being, you must assume a higher concept of yourself. You're free to choose the concept you will accept of yourself, because you're free, you're the operant power, right? You are that aware being that can, shift from state, from identification, from assumption to assumption. You don't have to dwell in one assumption. You're not, tied forever to one assumption, to one state. So change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Right? The world, let the world reshuffle itself automatically, and it does it always automatically once you shift it within. Do not try to change people. Right? They're only messengers telling you who you are. That's why I said that your self-concept is also a blueprint of how other people will treat you. So revalue yourself, and they will confirm the change. So to attempt to change the world before we change our concept of ourselves is to struggle against the nature of things. Right? This is to struggle against the nature of life. You can't change something outside. Again, you can't change something outside. The outside changes are always a result of a first internal shift, and you can't cheat this rule of life. There can be no outer change until there is first an inner change. Right? As within, so without. First within, then without. As within, so without, like Neville said. Live in a mental atmosphere of greatness rather than using physical means and arguments to bring about your desired change. By desiring to be other than you are, you can create an ideal of the person you want to be and assume that you are already that person. Right? Don't wait. Don't wait and try to become it. No, be it right now. If this assumption is persistent until it becomes your dominant feeling, right, until it becomes natural, the attainment of your ideal is inevitable. There is nothing to change but our concept of self. As soon as we succeed in transforming self, right, so we start with self, our world will dissolve and reshape itself in harmony with that which our change affirms. Right? It reshapes itself in harmony. It's not against you. It's not your enemy. Start within, right? Clean up your inner reality. Clean up your inner garden, right? Have an active, conscious mental diet where you are aware of what you actually let in your awareness, what you actually give life to and what you give your light to, because that is what you get more of. That is what your life outpictures, is your internal states. So everything we do, and this is key, I want you to understand this, everything we do that's not supported, so to speak, by a change of consciousness. So if you want to more create a business venture and you try to do more things out there, but you're still in a stuck state, still in the state of an unsuccessful business owner, well, not much will change. Or if you want to be in a relationship and you try to text a person, do this, do that, or go on dates, whatever you do, but you're still in a state of being lonely, no one likes you, being unwanted, well, not much of your external labors will lead to results. So first change what you have alive in your consciousness, right? So everything that you try to do is actually a futile readjustment of surfaces. It's only surface level stuff. It's like just like vainly affirming, but still being in the consciousness, still being in the old state, still being in the old version of you. So however we toil or struggle, we can receive no more than our assumption affirms. To protest against anything which happens to us is to protest against the law of our being and our rulership over our own destiny. So if we go back to this illustration, this is what I want you to keep in mind, right? You're not the state. If you find your life right now it's unpleasant, it's not to your liking, your experience circumstance that you don't like, don't blame that. Don't blame yourself. Realize that it's not absolute. It's not your ideal right now. So let the world be the world right now as it is. I know it can be challenging, but don't lose yourself in the circumstances and reinfect, pollute your internal state and your self-concept again. Let that be as it is right now. Start to revalue yourself. Start to assume something new within. Start to shift your state, your self-concept. And then let the world reflect that back in harmony after a certain while when you remain in that new state. Okay? If you need any help with that and you found it valuable, then I highly recommend you just check out my YouTube channel. There are literally, free learning contents on Neville's teachings, the law of assumption, how to shift, how to manifest your goals. You find all of that there. If you want some more help, you want to be in my newsletter, check out the free masterclass. It's the first link in the video description where I show you how to shift into the new state and, some of the mistakes that people usually do and how I can help you. And if you resonate with these videos at some point and just say, wow, like that makes sense. I want you, Nicholas, to be in my corner. I want you to support me on that. You want like a really active, empowering, high-level community, private community, not a free Reddit group with anonymous people where you don't even know at which level of manifesting they are, but you want like a premium, in a sense, support, community, my support, accountability, a step-by-step system on how really to apply Neville's teachings. Then, of course, that I have a program, you can apply for that, and we can simply find out if we are a good fit. And if we are, amazing, we will introduce to you what we can offer for you. And if not, at least we can give you a game plan so that you could move forward in your life. So apply for that. And I see you in the next video. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye.